Hey there, it's William. Today we're going to show you how to fix a speed queen dryer that only produces low heat when it's set to regular heat. Now this problem might be caused by a faulty heating element, a bad fabric selector switch, or even a malfunctioning thermostat. Now let's find out what the problem is so we can fix it step by step. Before we get started, hit those like and subscribe buttons if you want to join our repair community and get notified each time we post a new video guide. With over 2 million products in stock and the know-how to help you do it yourself, we are AppliancePartsPros.com. First, we need to get our tools together. Today, we'll need a 5/16 inch nut driver, a 1/4 inch nut driver, a flathead screwdriver, a thermometer, and a multimeter. Also, please remember to keep safety first. Always disconnect your dryer by unplugging it or switching the breaker off, unless you're testing for live voltage. Now let's get started. The first thing we're going to check is a fabric selector switch. To access it, we're taking our 1/4 inch nut driver and removing the screws that hold the console to the top panel. While we're at it, let's go ahead and make sure the switch is set to regular heat. Then we can rotate the console forward. We're going to take our multimeter and set it to continuity mode, which looks like a sideways Wi-Fi symbol. Now we're going to remove the wire from terminal 1 and use the meter probes to test from terminal 1 to terminal L1. If you have continuity like we see here, then the fabric selector switch has failed and would need to be replaced. If there's no continuity, we can plug the wire back into the terminal 1 and continue troubleshooting. Next up is the cycling thermostat. This dryer is missing the bottom front panel, but yours will have two 5/16 inch screws at the bottom that will need to be removed to take the bottom panel off. With the dryer unplugged, we're going to push our meter probes to the outer wired terminals of the cycling thermostat and set our meter to volts AC. We're going to grab our thermometer and place it into the exhaust vent of the dryer. Now we are plugging our dryer power cord back in. Please take extreme care during this testing, since it has the potential to cause harm if it's not done safely. If you're uncomfortable using a multimeter, please stop and get help with testing. We're going to start the dryer and check our meter. We expect to see it show 0 volts AC until the cycling thermostat opens the internal contacts. Our voltage reading will then change to 240 volts AC once the contacts open. Once we get a 240 volts reading, we are checking our thermometer. The temperature is less than 145 degrees Fahrenheit, the cycling thermostat has failed and would need to be replaced. If the voltage reading does not show 240 volts AC at all, but the heating element glows, the heating element would be the last stop. To access the heating element, the upper panel of the front of the dryer has 2 screws, one on each bottom corner. We're going to remove these screws with our 5/16 inch nut driver. Then we're rotating the bottom out to about 45 degrees and then moving it down. To help with putting this back together later on, it's a good idea to snap a picture of the door switch wiring so you have a reference point. Once you've done that, we can disconnect the wires for the door switch and set the panel to the side. With it off, you should see 2 wires for the light, as well as a clip holding the wiring harness that needs to be removed. Then remove the 4 screws holding the front bulkhead to the frame. We're lifting up the bulkhead slightly just so that it clears any tabs, then moving it down and out. Then we can just set it to the side. Now we're reaching back and removing the belt from the motor. Once the belt is removed, we can lift up the belt and use it to help pull the drum out. Then we can set them to the side. Now that they're out of the way, we're going to test the heating element. We're setting our multimeter to measure resistance in ohms, which has a symbol that looks like an upside down horseshoe. Our multimeter doesn't have a low resistance setting, so we are going to use continuity, which will give us the same readings. With 1 wire removed and with our meter probes on the element terminals, we should get a resistance reading between 8 to 10 ohms. If the resistance isn't within this range, the element will need to be replaced. If your fabric selector switch failed, like ours did, let me show you how to replace it. First, we need to remove the knob from the selector switch. Then we can disconnect the wires from the switch, making note of where they go for the reinstall. We're going to take our flathead screwdriver and use it to lift up on the locking tab of the fabric selector switch. Once the tab has been lifted, we can rotate the switch and pull it out. You can see the tabs here. Here's the old fabric selector switch and here's a new one. If you've already got one, great. If not, you can order one at AppliancePartsPros.com. We need to insert the new switch into the console and rotate it to lock it in place. Then switch the wires over to the new part. Once the new fabric selector switch is secured and the wires are attached, we're going to rotate the console back in place and secure it with the 1/4 inch screws we removed earlier. Then we can place the knob on the new switch and we're done. Don't forget to plug your dryer back in or turn that breaker back on. Thanks for watching. If you need a new part, whether it's a fabric selector switch or something else, grab your model number and head over to appliancepartspros.com to order a replacement, which should arrive in just a few days. After you get a new part, we'll walk you through the installation with our video guides. Share your repair experience with us by leaving a comment below. And if this video helped you, hit the like and subscribe buttons to see more videos like this. Thanks for your support.